station, 1370 WOCA.
WOCA.
All right, 7 minutes after 10 o'clock, nice-looking Thursday. Our next two guests have both been in the studio with us before. Both of them have impressed us greatly that, one person can do a lot with their lives if they just put their mind to it. And they both educated me. They added a word to my vocabulary. It was recidivism. I don't know if I had that word in my vocabulary before I met our next two guests. And they're here to introduce us to a lady who's not in the room, but who will be in Ocala soon. And she's got some she's got an amazing story, first of all, and then, of course, she's got an amazing connection to her dad, who was Ray Charles. Reverend Michael Beck is in the studio with Lonnie Ernest. They're both with the Christian 12-Step Ministry. I hope I said that right. And they're here to tell us about a breakfast with Sheila Ray Charles Robinson. I was saying this morning, good thing they didn't name her Sugar. That we would say, well, who's she the daughter of? Sugar Ray Robinson or Ray Charles? She is the daughter of Ray Charles, and man, she has had her share of ups and downs. And looking at her photograph, she's a pretty lady, and looking forward to learning more about this. Let me make sure I got all this right. Good morning, Reverend Michael, and good morning, Lonnie. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning to you.
Michael's fine.
All right, well, thank you for doing that. Well, thank you for coming in. And, recidivism. I use the word now and then, and always think of you guys when I use it.
Yes, it's a reality.
It's an important part of what you do, isn't it? An important part of the ministry?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mike is a good example of that because from the jailhouse to the pulpit, he came out of his drug addiction and honored God with his life, and now he's senior pastor of the First United Methodist Church of Wildwood, Florida.
Isn't that
He's
amazing?
also on staff with the largest Methodist church in the district, the New Covenant United Methodist Church in the Villages, leading a recovery program there. And what better person to lead it than someone that is in recovery?
Every amazing journey has a first step.
Yes.
Yours did. Everybody's does. In the case of trying to get out of a lifestyle that is ruining your life. Well, in your case, you had drugs in your background, and so did the young lady we're going to speak about, Sheila Ray Charles Robinson.
Yes.
But the question, I don't know if this is too big to ask in a tiny radio show or a radio slot, but does that first step always happen voluntarily, or is the first step sometimes forced? You know what I mean? Has that ever happened where somebody's actually forced to take that first step and it actually works?
That was my experience, and most of the people that I work with today, alcoholics and addicts, unfortunately, we have to rack up some consequences before we're willing to change.
Uh-huh.
And for me, that led me to laying on the infirmary room floor of the Marion County Jail, where I was finally broken enough and realized I was powerless, my life was unmanageable, to reach up to God. And they put this Christian 12-step book in my hand at that jail, and I began to read the Bible and work the steps through that book, and decided that I was going to make a change in my life. And that's where it started, in that place. Really, there was desperation. It was funny because my wife and I prayed the night before my last drink, and we prayed. I said, God, whatever you got to do to stop me, please do it. And the next day, God sent angels in green suits with handcuffs, and I was arrested, and that's where I took my first step.
Wow. Is that how you met, Lonnie? Is that how you met each other?
Yes, we met him in the Marion County Jail, and we call it a bottom. You reach a bottom.
Right.
You can't go any further down.
Right.
And even Sheila Ray Charles reached her bottom. She was in federal prison 3 times.
Yes.
And was addicted to crack cocaine.
Wow.
And she fell off her bunk one night and said, God, if this is it, get me out of here. And God spoke and quickened her heart to say, this isn't all there is, it's about me. And she committed her life to Christ and now has a prison ministry and going to be in our area, going to be in all 3 prisons while she's here, the Lake Correctional, Marion Correctional, and Lowell Correctional. And we'll be at a breakfast and in the 3 churches in a recovery group. So,
wow. A lot of times when women take that path, there is sexual abuse in their childhood. And I guess that applies to men, too. And I don't know, I'm not a psychiatrist, but it sounds like there might be a self-esteem thing. You just don't think you're worth anything, and you just end up in that lot, I guess. But
with Sheila Ray Charles, she admits that, being the daughter of Ray Charles, her dad was absent most of the time. And she was sexually, physically, emotionally abused. And she's written a book, Behind the Shadows.
Behind the
And
Shades.
I'm sorry, was that correct?
Behind the Shades.
Behind the
yeah.
Shades.
Behind the Shades.
And,
Okay.
Behind the
Oh,
Shades.
okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
And she will be she'll be autographing those books and making them available while she's here in the area.
Wow. And did she? Have you guys met her yet?
Oh, I've had conversation with her,
Uh-huh.
but we haven't physically had the chance to meet yet.
Does she and has she always embraced her relationship with her dad?
Yes, she's.
She does embrace it now.
Yes, she embraces it now, and she's forgiving him, and got quite a testimony, and that's.
Well, the big question when you say sexual abuse and she's his daughter, I mean, we don't want to think he was.
Well, she said a relative. She did
It
not.
wasn't-
she didn't say it was
wasn't
him.
her dad.
Okay.
I
all
don't
right.
think it was her dad.
He was pretty much absent from her life for
Uh-huh.
the majority of her life because he was so famous and traveling all the
Right,
time,
right.
and that was part of what led to her.
She has a unique opportunity because of that connection, though, to do something many of us would not be able to do just because of the fact that her father is Ray Charles. So, and she couldn't do it either if she hadn't gone down that terrible road. It's kind of ironic, isn't it, that the most powerful testimony, as your own, sometimes comes from people who've gone into hell and come back.
Mm-hmm.
We have people from our
figuratively.
ministry that goes in the jails and prisons and these recovery groups, and the best facilitator is one that has lived through addiction and is living in recovery. They
Yeah.
have a story to tell, a testimony.
But you didn't, right, Lonnie? That's not your story, is it?
Yes. I spent
it
several
is.
years in prison 35 years ago.
How come I didn't know that?
And
that never came up, I don't think.
well, you see, basically, I retired. I sold my last 3 businesses and bought 11 acres and built my beautiful home in North Carolina. And I got a letter from the chaplain that was my chaplain 35 years ago, who lives here, Chaplain John Meyer.
Uh-huh.
And he said, we need you in Florida. And my wife kicked and screamed all the way back to Florida, but now she's my right-hand person in the office 3 days a week. And not to get also spiritual, but
Right, right.
Jesus said, I've come that you might have life and that you might have it more abundantly. A lot of people have life, but he says more abundantly, and that's when you begin to pour your life into the lives of others. That's the abundant life.
And here's an observation, and this is going to border on political, and I don't mean it to be political, but this is my statement and my observation. When we hear that you are in a ministry and you have this horrendous background of having taken the wrong path, we are so forgiving. We're so ready to hear what you've got to say. But when a man who was in prison decided to run for sheriff recently, Bernie DeCastro, well, that wasn't the same sentiment. There were a lot of people who said, no, we're not going to put him in there because he's. But at the same time, he's also has I don't know if it's a ministry of sorts, but he
does.
professes his belief in Jesus and clearly wants you to know that that's what's made the difference for
Yeah.
him.
I think genuine forgiveness comes in a relationship with Jesus Christ and really coming to understand that we've all been forgiven. And Christ went to the cross to die for all sinners, and he doesn't see sin in the plural. He sees sin in the singular, meaning that we basically missed the mark for which he's called us to achieve.
Can you help all of those people that hang out on the corners with their signs begging for money? Have you approached them, or how does something like that work?
My belief is that it comes in a relationship with Jesus Christ. It's hard sometimes. You see these signs, and sometimes you want to stop by and ask them, what are you doing in a positive way that can really impact our city? I assume you're talking about those that have the political signs. Are you talking about the ones?
The
Work
people
for
that
food.
ask for money? They don't work or anything. They
Well-
just stand there and they want money.
What usually what I found, this is just my experience, is that there's usually some kind of addiction or alcoholism involved in those kind of situations. Sometimes it's just maybe mental illness, but I've actually picked one of those guys up and brought him to church. And he came down to the altar, and the folks of the church prayed over him, and he got sobriety and was able to escape that kind of life. I think a lot of people that we see out there with those signs have some substance abuse issues. It's just my personal
Probably
opinion.
right.
Oh.
Yeah, Michael. Well, you said you and your wife prayed before you took your last drink or after?
I was still actively
I'm just
using
curious.
when I prayed that prayer.
So you said
I
a
didn't
prayer
know.
and then you took a drink.
Well, the next day, yeah.
Okay,
The next
okay.
day I was arrested.
Well, okay. And that clearly was what turned you around. So my initial question of can you be forced into taking that first step? I guess it can be, sort of. I mean, But maybe it's not easy. It's hard to force somebody. You have to be willing, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had got to the point in my life where I had tried everything. I mean, I went to doctors, I had went to rehabs, and by my own power, there was no way I could get sober.
Yeah.
And so I got to that desperate place, and that's where Jesus came into my life, and that relationship started. And I found that as long as I keep that relationship with God at first primary thing in my life, that I can stay sober.
And now you're the minister? What, are you referred to as pastor? Reverend? Does that matter? I don't know.
I've been called worse.
And what is the church?
The church is in Wildwood, Florida, Wildwood United Methodist Church.
Okay.
And I'm also on staff at New Covenant United Methodist Church to start a Celebrate Recovery program there, which Miss Charles is going to be coming to perform at that Celebrate Recovery. We launched about a month ago, and we had about 200 people show up in the villages.
Now, when you spoke to Miss Charles on the phone, did she reconcile with her father prior to his death?
I didn't really ask that question, but I believe that there was some reconciliation.
Yes.
We'll have to read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's going to be bringing her book to sell copies of it.
Oh, good.
How
we'll buy one.
far back does her change go? I mean, when did she start turning her life around?
I think she's working on about a decade now.
Yes, in fact, she has begun her own prison ministry. And what was amazing to me was when I talked to her agent, the willingness to say, we'll come a day earlier or stay a day later. She wants to get in every prison she can. She loves to share her testimony. She has such a faith in God and a belief that we talk about recidivism. She believes the answer to recidivism is repentance.
And by the way, the definition of recidivism is?
You keep coming back and coming back and coming back.
Yeah.
Reoffending.
Reoffending and just not...
Usually it's associated with negative, like you... In other words, you keep coming back to church. That's not considered recidivism. That's just keep coming back, right?
Right. Yeah.
So just to be fair, because you're here mostly to promote the breakfast and the other visits from Sheila Ray Charles. Do I say the Robinson part? Is that her full name?
Sheila Ray Charles is her professional name.
Sheila Ray Charles. Okay,
Yes.
okay. And is Robinson a married name? Is that where that comes from?
I assume at this point.
Okay.
But her husband also has spent time in prison and has quite a testimony as well.
Wow.
And he will be coming along with her.
Yes.
So we haven't established this. I think we assumed people would know this, but she's also a singer-songwriter.
Yes,
Right,
she writes a lot of her own music.
Like her dad. Was Ray Charles a writer or just a singer?
He was a writer.
He did
He
both?
was a great writer. And she sings a couple of her daddy's songs, too, as part of her performance.
Well, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Does she, she's a woman, he's a man, but dumb question coming up. Does she sound like him at all? I mean, is there anything about her style that is similar? Or?
I think genetics has produced a little bit of something here because even though she's feminine and he's masculine, there's some tendency towards her presentation as being somewhat alike and akin to her dad.
Is that right?
Gospel music.
What'd you do? Did you view her online or something?
Yes, she's got videos all over the place.
All right, we're going to become familiar with her. So,
Yeah.
And she'll be in town for how many days?
She's coming in on the 31st and leaving on the 6th.
She'll be here-
that's
be here a while.
nice.
Yeah, we've got her set up to the Christian 12-step breakfast, which is going to take place over at Church at the Springs
Okay.
on Saturday.
Saturday morning at 9:30.
The 2nd
And,
of February.
We still have tickets available. Yeah, February the 2nd. We still have tickets available, and you can call us at 732-0877, and we have about probably 50 tickets left that's available. 150 seats is all we have at the Church of the Springs.
All right.
And she'll be appearing at the 3 different prisons. She'll be at the Celebrate Recovery at New Covenant United Methodist Church, and we're going to do a community event in Wildwood where I've invited all the other churches where there's a pretty good racial divide in Wildwood, and we think that she'll bring the community together, and that's going to take place on Sunday the 3rd.
Music and sports both bring the races together. We
they
just
do.
went through the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, and it occurred to me, we were talking about Harlem because I have a nephew who's living in New York now, and it's still a separated situation. I don't know if it's voluntary. I don't know why that happens. Maybe that's just the way we want to live. I don't know, but it's a good thing that we have things that bring us together.
Yes.
I think.
When you When you have an event of this magnitude, and then you have to create all of these separate venues for different audiences, when you go to the prison, do the prisoners sign up to attend this, or is it mandated for them all to attend it?
The event is going to be outside on the compound of the prison, so it's wide open. And Norman Lee, who most people in our community is aware of who Norman Lee is.
Yeah.
And he's going to do the introduction of Miss Charles, Ray Charles, and but it will be an open venue, the prison compound. So there'll be quite an audience, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. That is absolutely incredible to do something of that magnitude. How scary is that?
And I don't know if we mentioned the time. It's 9:30 in the morning on the 2nd, over at this Church of the Springs. I know you mentioned where it is. So I wasn't sure if we mentioned the time. It's in the morning, right? Did you know those people that time? Were they friends?
I have no idea.
I think they knew him.
Oh, okay. And Lonnie wasn't looking over at them. Okay. Yeah, it looked like they were making you nervous. I wasn't sure. I was going to get up and say, okay, get away from the one. wait till we're broadcasting from the mall. You know, we're moving to the mall.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, so we'll have a lot of spectators during that.
One credit to Ms. Ray Charles is I want to mention that a lot of times celebrities come and there's quite an expense for them coming. And I was amazed at the nominal request she had to compensate her for the time she would be here, and was also so willing to go into all the prisons and knowing that there's no honorarium there or any pay for that. That's,
right.
That's a given. So she really is a blessing to the prison ministry.
You know, there might be a listener who knows the answer to this, but I'm pretty sure that Ray Charles performed in Ocala during his career. Pretty sure he came here. Do you remember that, Robin?
Yes, I believe he did.
So maybe somebody out there can remember something. Maybe it was even, I don't even know if it was recently. I feel like there's something in my, do you guys know? Did Ray Charles come?
I'm not sure.
They recently did a documentary on him, but he's deceased now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But they recently did a documentary and a movie that I saw, in which
a huge.
He made a big change himself.
Award-winning movie, yeah.
He had an addiction to heroin, and he had quite a battle.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's so many questions about his relationship with his daughter. Was she an only child?
No, she has other siblings.
And did they follow the same path as her, or was she the black sheep of the family? Not to make a pun on the racial thing, but I mean, was she? You know,
maybe we better leave that open so they'll buy her book.
Right. Will Christian 12-Step Ministry be available at all the events? For that way, when people attend, and if some of them are addicted, they can sort of incognito go to see you to ask for your help?
We have Christian 12-Step Ministry groups already in all those prisons. We have groups that meet weekly. Mm-hmm. And so we're already present in the prison with the endorsement of the chaplain and the State Department of Corrections, literally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's amazing. We have churches come in here quite often, as a matter of fact, to promote something that appears to be an entertainment opportunity for us as an audience. A good one is the Gospel According to Scrooge, that church down the road.
Great production.
And they always have these amazing stories of how people came just to be entertained, or just to have, a couple of hours in the air conditioning, or something as simple as that, and literally have their lives changed by what they're seeing. Yeah. I'm guessing that as Miss Charles sings, she would be reaching people in a way that you and I don't even understand. The way God reaches us, I guess.
Right. Let me share with you. Ship was not really built to be in a harbor. An airplane was not made to be in a hangar.
Yeah.
And Christians aren't made to be in a building of brick and mortar.
Oh, I like that.
The church is to go out. The plane flies, the ship sails, and I think more and more our churches are beginning to realize that that's the pep rally. The real game is going out in the community, where we go into the prisons, the jails, we go to the homeless, we go to the hurting, and begin to reach out and get out of our comfort zone and go and touch the lives of those who are so wounded and hurting. And, we can criticize them, we can make negative comments, but what does that achieve? We need to go and just put our arm around them and tell them we love them and God loves them, and we want to tell them some positive things and lead them to a good life.
And if somebody who is as deep as you both have been, as deep as Sheila Ray Charles has been. I keep forgetting her first name, so I'm looking at my notes here, but Sheila Ray Charles. I keep calling Miss Charles. But as low as you got, if God can pull you out, then He can pull somebody who's way behind on their house payments, or somebody who's having a hard time because their child is being a little too bratty. You know what I mean? Some of the minor dips in our lives that we think are huge aren't when we compare them to other people.
That's right.
So you guys are walking examples of that, as is Sheila Ray Charles without the Robinson.
The best things we can communicate are those lessons we've learned in hard times.
Mm-hmm. Will she be taking questions from the audience also? Is that part of her program at each of the venues, or?
Probably with the time element is probably going to be basically music and testimony.
Mm-hmm. And book signing too, as
yes,
well.
Book
Right,
signing.
right.
I'll tell you this: she's a lot prettier than her daddy. I'm looking at the photo here. All right, Sheila Ray Charles is coming to Ocala. Ray Charles' daughter. She will be singing. She will be testifying, giving testimony, I guess is the better way to say that. Reverend Michael Beck and Lonnie Ernest are both in the studio right now. The Christian 12-step ministry is something you should look into if it could help you, or if you know somebody it would help. Addictions and alcohol and substance abuse recovery. The breakfast with Sheila Ray Charles is, and fill in the blanks that I don't know here. It's a fundraising event. It'll be on Saturday, a week from this coming Saturday, 9:30 in the morning at the church at the Springs on Baseline Road. And what else should we tell them? I'm a little bit unsure of the other venues we can attend.
She's going to appear at Celebrate Recovery in the Villages at New Covenant United Methodist Church, and we found there's a huge need. Celebrate Recovery is another program, Christ-centered, for addictions, for people with hurts, habits, and hang-ups. We've had a tremendous response in the village community of people that need the program. And so she's going to be there Friday night, which is February the 1st at 6:30.
Okay.
And then she's going to be in Wildwood at that Sunday, which is going to be the 3rd.
Okay.
For a community worship event from 2 to 3 at Wildwood United Methodist Church also. And she's going to be at Village View Community Church that Monday at 6:30 as well to perform there.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing and being so honest with us about your own lives and for what you do. I mean, the biggest thank you that we have to you is that you make our lives better, because you take people who are as low as they'll ever get and bring them up.
I would like to acknowledge Blaine Witt with Extreme Solutions has been real instrumental in helping us get the prisons to open their doors to us so that we could have an audience with the 3 prisons. So Blaine Witt has been a real instrument there to help us.
Wow. Well, thank you for what you're doing, and we will continue to promote her appearance so that people who are not listening right now will get the word. And if you're listening right now, spread the word. Help them spread the word. It's a win-win for everybody. Thank you both. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
We'll take a little break and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is John Sotomayor, executive editor of Ocala Magazine, here to tell you that Ocala Magazine now has its very own radio show, and it's right here on WOCA The Source.